Hello, this is HT Wingnut, and today I want to give you a quick review of the ZyXEL NAS326 storage device. It's a fairly low-powered device. It comes with a Marvel Armada 380 1.3 gigahertz dual-core CPU, so it's a low-end CPU, something even used like in low-end tablets and stuff like that. And it comes with 512 megabytes of DDR3 RAM, non-expandable, but it's a good basic file server. And the one thing that caught my attention with this is the price. Currently, you can get it at Micro Center for about $100. You can either get it in store or even have it shipped to you. I think it's a $6 shipping. So it's a nice little device if you're looking for basic file storage. So what you get in the box is basically the NAS device, obviously, that you see here. And then you get a power supply. It's a 60 watt, 12 volt, 5 amp. And then you get a Ethernet cable. This one isn't the one that came with it, but it came with a different Ethernet cable if you need it. And it comes with screws to support the two drives that it has inside that you can put inside of it. And as far as in the back here, you can see you've got power jack, Ethernet port, gigabit Ethernet, and then two USB 3 ports here, and then Kensington lock, fan, and then around the perimeter here you got that. And then to access the drives, this is a little bit of a pain in the butt. You just slide that open, and then you got the detachable trays. To pull the trays out, you have to push down a little bit on this little tab here and slide it in and out. The trays are pretty robust. They're a shot as a single injection molded part, it looks like, so they're pretty good. It comes with the screws to attach it to the sides, front and back. Then also the screws for the SSDs are 2.5-inch drives, which have locations on the bottom here. And to load it in, just push it in, and there you go. Slide this on, and then you can power up. Now, an initial power up, they did give you some information on how to connect to this. Basically, you have to go to a website, find.zyxel.com, and it's supposed to be able to locate it on your local network. That didn't work for me. You're supposed to be able to get there, push this little sync button, and it should connect. But they do have a little link that says if this doesn't work, click on this link for this NAS device, or this link, and I clicked on that link, and it connected right away then. So it was able to find it. I thought I'd also mention that the first time you go to log in, it'll throw you at the login prompt, and it doesn't give you any information in the documentation that I could find that tells you what the default username and password is. And with a quick Google, though, I found that the login is admin and the password is 1234. After you enter that, it'll prompt you to update the password. I also want to show you here's the power usage. This is on boot up. But I do find that when it's booted up and idle, it consumes, with the two 12 terabyte drives I have in here currently, it consumes about 15 watts of power at idle. I also did a couple of benchmark tests. You can run this in RAID 0, RAID 1, or JBOD. JBOD basically just combines the disks together into one volume. RAID 0 stripes them together in two disks, and RAID 1 basically is a mirror of the other. And RAID 0 performance was copying a bunch of 1 gigabyte files over. It didn't nearly saturate the 1 gigabit Ethernet bus, which usually over 1 gigabit you can get about 112 to 113 megabytes per second. This was only able to run about 100 megabytes per second in a RAID 0 configuration. In a RAID 1 configuration, it was only able to do about 70 to 75 megabytes per second on average with a 1 gigabyte file size transfer. So it's not the fastest. The CPU is pretty much pegged at about 100% the whole time. So it's not exactly a speed demon, but for basic file services, it's good. Now that being said, we're going to take a look at the interface in a minute. And it's actually pretty refined, but there's some things that you just can't do with it now because it's a little bit of an aging device. And some of the stuff actually uses flash media. It's supposed to use flash media in order for it to work. And obviously that's pretty much a now defunct software. Now I'll go ahead and look at the login system here. So you go through a browser and just plug in the IP address or the name of your NAS here, and you can go ahead and log in. We're here, log in, and this interface here is not quite what you'd get when you get a fresh install, because I have messed with it a little bit. But let's go through the options here real quick. Under Control Panel, you can see you can set your users, groups, shared folders. And then network information, you can set up a terminal. It does have SSH capability, dynamic DNS if you want to set it up with that. Although a device like this, I would just keep it off the internet if you can help it. I'd use it mainly just for local network storage. Give it your server name. I just kept the default date time. It does have the date time server it can maintain. And then firmware upgrade, you're also probably going to want to do that right away, right? Do a check now. And I've already updated the firmware. And then you can also set up web certificate too, if you want to set up as kind of like a web server. And then you've got a media server here. It uses the Twonky media server. I would kind of avoid using that altogether. It's not real secure. Also, a lot of these things use a Flash plugin and a Windows Media Player plugin, which is required, which none are supported anymore. So I'd kind of avoid any of these other things here. You can even set up as an FTP server if you want, though. You know, web dev. I avoid these things here. And finally, maintenance. You can set up a power schedule if you want, and you can actually use this to back up. It is nice because it will use rsync to back up to local or network shares. So if you just want to back up your data off of here to an external drive or to another network share, it does have that option. And that's about it, all it is there. So it's actually has a pretty nice feature set, just that some of them are not really usable these days because it's kind of expired technology. In any case, going to the storage manager here, you can see here overview. I've got two 12 terabyte drives installed currently, set up in a RAID 1 configuration, but you can actually set them up in a RAID 0, a JBOD, or a RAID 1, or you can set them up as individual basic disks. And it does use the ext4 file format. It does support iSCSI LUNs here too as well. And then also you can hook up external drives over the USB ports if you want to. Okay, now they do have an app center, and I did use what's called, you'll see it here, where is it at? The meta repository. I did go through a process to install Plex, and I can show you how to do that. Because if you want to use this as like a Plex server, you have to go through a few extra steps in order to do that. It's like a third-party thing to get this going, and I'll go ahead and show you that now. You can actually install Plex on this ZyXEL NAS device. I found this guide here over on this location here. It's an HTTP site, not HTTPS. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's got just a file and directions here. What you want to do is click on this, right-click on this USB prefix. And it has directions down here, but this part was a little bit confusing. And basically, you just want to take this value here, highlight it, copy it. Then you want to paste it into a notepad. And you want to save it as, you want to put it in your network share for this drive, or download it and copy it over. You want to call it web_prefix. It's going to want to save it as a .txt just to save as file. You do not want any extension here. Go ahead and click save. Then it should show up in your network here, and there it is. But it's saved it as .text. If it does that, just delete the extension. And then you want to go ahead and create a new folder, and as I say here, you want to put it in a ZY-PKGS folder. Oops. So we're going to go to our network share on our NAS, and we're going to, under the admin folder, and we're going to make a folder called ZY-PKGS folder. And we're going to click and drag this into that folder, that web prefix file into that folder. And we go ahead and go back here, and then we go to the App Center, and you go down to Browse, All Apps, and you hit this little refresh here. And it should show this here. So download the success, go ahead and click Install. You go back to your App Center here, you're going to re-request a list. And now you should see Plex Media Server over here, and you can install it this way. You notice here it says Plex Media Server is not installed. You actually have to download it and install it manually. And here it says to choose package for Synology ARM v7 here. So you go, it'll take you to the Plex Media Server site, and then you go to Synology DSM7 here. and then go ahead and choose package, and then you want ARM v7. Choose this bottom one here, click back, you want to go choose file, and then go ahead and choose that package you just downloaded and upload it, and then install. And we can go ahead and start the server. Now we've got Plex on here. Now you notice you have the option to just skip this screen, or you can just click on the web interface here, and you've brought up Plex. See Plex Media Server on your installed apps. And then you've got other things like your backup planner here, and you can actually use that sync button to automatically sync. You can kind of set, USB to NAS or NAS to USB, and kind of set your target and everything like that. That's kind of a nice feature to have. Then it also has Time Machine, and I don't know if that is referring to Mac Time Machine or not, but I haven't looked into it, but that option is there as well. And then you've got your basic File Explorer, and this opens it up in a different browser, which is fine. And you can add files this way through this browser, but it's really kind of cumbersome. It's best to just go through an SMB share. So I'm just going to go here and go, then just do your normal file transfers there. And it does have a couple other apps too, like this download service, where you can actually just put in the URL of the file you want to download, or even better yet, a actual torrent file. So this would make a nice little torrent box, and to save all your torrents to. And obviously your performance isn't that great, but shouldn't matter for downloading torrents. Then Upload Manager, here you can set up a service and schedule uploads to places like YouTube. I thought I'd also mention that you can actually SSH into the NAS here. Just plug in the IP address here. And it does use BusyBox Ash built-in shell. So it's a kind of a different kind of command set than you're used to with Linux. And I'm not much of a Linux user, but your basic file manipulation, things like ls, right? You can get around navigate your directories. You can do cat proc mdstat, right? Things like that. But and I'm not too familiar with BusyBox, but there's no sudo command, and you can't do like an apt-get update, things like that. So if you type help, it gives you like this limited command set here that you can also do. There are some typical Linux commands that seem to work as well. I'm not real familiar with it, so I just wanted to make you aware of that. And so that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, talk to you later.